We have a big weekend to recap here on Preps Today with John Millea, starring John Millea of the MSHSL. You can read John's written work at John's Journal at MSHSL.org. Here's spoken word artistry here at TalkNorth.com. Coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studios, we want to thank our longtime sponsor, Pizza Barn in Princeton. That's Jody Stay's fantastic operation, place we love to eat. Please check it out if you're ever in the Northwest Metro. You're not far away, and it's worth the trip. Thanks to John. Thanks to everyone who listens. We do appreciate it. Best way to listen to this show or any show on our network, and we got a lot of them these days, and we got the best sports lineup in town. Please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. It's free. It's the easiest way to listen. All right, let's get right to it, John. Let's recap the big weekend.
Yeah. Speaking of this podcast, Jim, I don't know who this fella was. I don't know where he was from, but I was down on the field at U.S. Bank Stadium Thursday, Friday, Saturday, one of those 3 days for the football state semifinals. I hear somebody in the stands yelling me, John. I look up there and he says, I love the podcast. So I give him the big thumbs up and smile, and that was pretty awesome. I again, mystery fellow. I don't know.
John, that was
cool.
Me.
Boy, you look like a older, thicker gentleman there, Jim.
You haven't seen me in about a month, so maybe.
That's true. Maybe you've changed. But yeah, we had a big weekend, and it wasn't just football. It was girls' state swimming and diving championships, adapted soccer. Let's start with the recap with football. So this was the big weekend. 3 days at U.S. Bank Stadium, 14 games over 3 days. If you like high school football, this was the place to be. And the winning teams, they will play later this week at the Prep Bowl Friday and Saturday. It was a wild and woolly weekend with terrific competition, lots of great storylines. And these Prep Bowl games, they're all really good matchups. The best one, maybe the best one, in Class A, Minnesota, which has won the last 2 Class A Prep Bowls, is going to play Springfield, which has lost the last 2 Class A Prep Bowls. So this is a three-peat possibly for Minnesota, and if they can win it, they're going to beat Springfield for the 3rd year in a row. The Springfield Tigers will have something to say about that, but that says something about Class A domination, Minnesota and Springfield in the Prep Bowl 3 years in a row. And that will be the first game of the Prep Bowl, Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning, later Friday about 1 o'clock. The 4A championship game between Becker and Totino, that should be great. Then that'll be followed by the Class 2A, Jackson County Central and Staples Motley. And Friday will be capped off by the 6A game between Minnetonka and Maple Grove, scheduled for 7 p.m. The place will be rocking for that one. And then Saturday, we'll finish the football season with 3 games, the 9-player game between Hills, Beaver Creek, and Fertile Beltrami. That'll start at 10 a.m. This is Saturday. Around 1 o'clock, Dassel, Cokato, and Stewartville in 3A. And the last game of the football season, scheduled for 4 o'clock Saturday, is the 5A championship game between Elk River and Alexandria. That's an interesting matchup because Elk River has been there, done that. They've been to this level a lot. And here comes Alexandria, really making a good run here. That should be a good game. And I posted John's Journal stories every day of the semifinals. A couple of days, it was kind of notebook stuff, but the most compelling one to me, I wrote a story exclusively about Jackson County Central. They've had a great year. They're going to play for a state title. But how they got here, how they survived and are still playing is really something. Their quarterback, really, their best player is Roman Voss, Voss. He's a junior, one of the top recruits in the state. He's got offers from just about every Big Ten school, some Big 12 schools, Cal, from Cal to Penn State, basically. Every big-time school wants this kid, whether as a quarterback or a D-back or a linebacker. He's just a tremendous athlete. But in the state quarterfinals a couple weeks ago, Roman went out with a broken ankle. So that ankle's in a cast. He's done playing football. He's going to miss some of the basketball season. This is where it gets interesting. They didn't really have a unanimous pick as a backup quarterback, but the kid who's playing it is a senior named Grant freaking Not only had that dude never played quarterback until about 2 weeks ago, after Roman was hurt, Grant has not played football till this year. He's a senior, decided to come out for football. Done a great job. They run a really sophisticated offense. And, they've simplified some things, but he did a great job last week when I saw him play. And football fans may remember Roman Voss. He was seriously hurt a year ago in the state semifinals at US Bank Stadium. He took off with the ball at quarterback. It was a clean hit, but he had a head injury, a shoulder injury. He was on the field for about half an hour before they got him off on a stretcher. They were being real careful. They didn't know if it was a spinal thing or whatever. Thank goodness it wasn't. Spent most of that day at Hennepin County Medical Center, missed some of the last basketball season, but was having a terrific season this year. And so, as I wrote, the last time he was at US Bank Stadium, he left on a stretcher. This time, when he got back on the field, it was in a wheelchair. He's getting around in a wheelchair. He's got crutches, and he uses those on the sidelines to move around a little bit. But to go off on a stretcher and come back in a wheelchair, that's just not fair. Ugh. And Jackson, they've had other injuries, but to see that team just keep pushing and working and getting to prep bowl, it's quite a story. And if anybody who hasn't read that wants to, in fact, my wife told me this morning, she just read it and she thought it was just nuts. It was crazy how what they've come through. So go to John's Journal at MSHSL.org and you can read about everything that I wrote from the state semifinals.
Excellent. Good stuff. All right.
Yeah. Let's go on to the swimming and diving here, John.
Yes.
Briefly. Girls State Swim and Dive was last week at the University of Minnesota. Let's congratulate the team champions, Minnetonka in Class 2A, Orono in 1A. In a close finish, Minnetonka held off Edina, which had won 6 of the last 7 state titles. And Orono's team title was really something because Visitation had won that 10 years in a row. So, congratulations to all those teams. There was one individual who won 2 races, Eastridge sophomore Logan Haverman. She won the 200 individual medley and the 100 breaststroke. Congrats to all those teams and individuals who competed at state swimming. And then also last week, as I said, we had the adapted soccer state tournament at White Bear Lake in their fabulous new field house. Championships were won by Dakota United in the CI division and Minneapolis South in the PI division. Congrats to all the teams that competed at the adapted soccer tournament. I wasn't able to get there, but that's a great event. And having it at that big, nice field house at White Bear Lake makes it even greater.
Oh, that's fantastic. The next segment we're going to go to is titled Recruiting News. I think I know one of the recruiting news you might be revealing. In fact, I'll let you start, and I'll add something later.
Yeah, I learned this while I was sitting at the football games, whichever day that was. You and I know Chad Greenway. I'm Facebook friends with Chad. And he posted that his daughter, Madden Greenway, and people know Chad, the former Vikings linebacker, all-around good guy, posted Madden had made her college decision. And I think I was talking to Chad somewhere maybe a year ago, maybe longer than that, maybe a year and a half ago. And I asked him, how's the college thing coming? And she's only just starting her junior year of basketball. She's still just barely a high school junior. But it was up. I remember now that Providence Academy, where Madden is a 3-sport superstar, they were playing girls basketball up at Albany. So I was up there. Our friend Pat Royce was up there, and I was talking to Chad before the game. I think that's where he told me. He said, you know what? She really likes Kentucky right now. I thought, that's interesting. That's not necessarily a women's basketball program you'd think of as the Connecticut's, the Iowas, the South Carolinas. But Madden Greenway indeed made a commitment to Kentucky. She's one of the top recruits in the country. Her team has won state championships in basketball at Providence Academy. She's played on a state championship soccer team, and she has won state championships by herself in track and field. So this is quite the athlete. Yes. She gets it from her parents. Clearly, they're both wonderful athletes. She's committed to Kentucky. She's got basically 2 full high school years left. So congrats to her. That was a big one. The Gophers were not in her final group. So I don't think anybody is taking that personally. But I know, I'm sure for Chad, for the whole family, it's nice to get that off the decks. People can stop asking, what's Madden going to do?
Yes. A couple thoughts from my perspective. We had, one of our newer shows at the network is Dawn Mitchell's Dawn of Sports. Great interview show. We do we don't do all women's sports. We hit women's sports a lot. And we had Andrea Yak on this last week, and she's friends with the Greenways, works with Chad a bit through her business. And two things she told me was, number one, like if you ever go to the Greenway household, those kids are so polite and so disciplined, and just she said they're just like ideal kids in the way they behave. And a personal thought coming from me is I can't pretend I knew she was going to Kentucky. I felt if somebody had asked me last week, I would have said she's not going to go to Minnesota, and I don't think she's going to go to Iowa. I never got a sense being around Chad that he was a big fan of University of Minnesota sports in general. Maybe it's just the Iowa bias.
Yes.
And then number two, I never thought Chad would want his daughter to go someplace where she'd be known as somebody's kid rather than just herself.
Right.
So
that's right. Yeah, and her mom was a cross country and track athlete at Iowa too. There's strong Iowa ties, and they go down there pretty often. But yeah, that's and Chad, I'm sure Chad put no pressure on Madden at all.
Right.
Do what you want to do. And you talk about the kids. She's the oldest of 4 daughters. So there are some genetics at work there. Those kids are all active. Chad's told me about just how busy as parents they are, getting everybody where they need to go for lots of different sports. They wanted their kids to try anything and everything. And and she's a special player, and she's a good kid. I've talked to Madden a couple times. She's super nice. Chad's as nice as they come. And so let's congratulate the whole family on making that choice.
No question about it. And like you said, good thing to get out of the way and just enjoy the rest of her high school career. Do you have more recruiting news you wanted to get to?
That's the only one.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to thank Jody Stay and Pizza Barn in Princeton. Jody's been a great ally, a great friend all these years. They make great pizza. What's going on up there right now, John?
Yeah, I've been lucky to see Jody a couple times in person this fall, Jim. I was up there for a football game in Princeton, and the pizza truck was rocking and rolling. I came home with a whole pizza afterwards, thanks to Jody. They work hard up there, and it is November. We're winding down November now, but you still got time to get in there, get the pizza of the month. A loaded beer cheese starts with a beer cheese base. They put on andouille sausage, their own freshly shredded mixed cheese, bacon crumbles after it's baked. They top it with popcorn. They have pretzel bites you can have added on there for a small additional charge. Get that for dine-in, carry-out, or delivery, the loaded beer cheese. Remember the Pizza Barn's lunch buffet, which is outstanding every day, Monday through Friday, from 11:30 to 1:30. You're guaranteed to find many delicious options every day on the buffet. And thanks to Jody and her amazing crew at the Pizza Barn, they'll take great care of you. You'll have a meal to remember in a very friendly and comfortable setting, thanks to the Pizza Barn in downtown Princeton.
Yes, and tell Jody we sent you.
You bet.
I need to get up and see Jody sometime soon. It's been too long. Yeah. Also want to thank Aquarius Home Services. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio. And now let's get to one of our great set pieces. Great idea of John to do this every week. Let's thank a rep.
Yeah, we're going to thank some officials here in a couple of different sports. So we made history Friday in one of the Class 4A state football semifinals. We had a husband and a wife team on the officiating crew. Bill and Linda Mills, they're from Glenwood. I don't know Linda. I've known Bill for a while. And Bill was the referee. Linda was the umpire. So they're both positioned behind the offense. This was the game between Totina Grace and Orono. I think I mentioned last week, Jim, I'm putting together a story about female football officials. There are 1,405 people certified to officiate high school football in Minnesota. 1,405. 21 of them are women. And I've talked to, I think, a majority of those 21. I'm putting a story together about, what made you want to do this? What do you enjoy about it? Advice for other females interested in officiating. So let's thank Bill and Linda Mills. Did a great job in that game. And then at the state swim meet, more history was made when Judy Seliga-Punico of Duluth and her daughter Kelly of Crystal, they became the first mother and daughter to serve as a referee and starter at a girls' state swimming meet. I talked to them on the phone. I got some nice pictures from them. I wrote a story about them leading up to the state swim meet, which is available at John's Journal. Just wonderful people. I had such a good time chatting with them. This is a family born in the pool. I mean, basically, Judy met her husband through swimming. Kelly met her husband. They were both, MIAC swimmers. There's 3 daughters. They all swam. They all were swimmers at Duluth East, swam at States, swam in colleges in Minnesota. Really, it's like the first family of swimming. I'm glad I got to spend some time talking to them and writing about them.
Excellent stuff. All right. And now another set piece that love that John includes every week, most valuable teammate of the week.
Yeah, we're going to honor this week Winona senior Lauren Steinfeld. She's been a member of her school's dance team since her 7th grade year. Her experience makes her a role model for younger teammates, and she always offers help and encouragement. Lauren's ambition, positive attitude, and leadership have been instrumental in the success of the team and will inspire her younger teammates for years to come. Congrats to Winona's Lauren Steinfeld on being named a most valuable teammate.
Excellent. All right. Good stuff, John. Enjoyed it. Closed circuit to all of our listeners. We'll be doing a fall review that will run Thanksgiving week. That'll be the next show up. And hey, same stuff. If you like the show, subscribe to your favorite podcast app. If you really like the show, spread the word. We're still growing the network. We're still growing the show. We do appreciate everyone who listens. So thanks to John. Thanks to our producers at TalkNorth.com. And we will talk to you next week.